Hey there guys, Joel Hughes from Glass Mountains here. Now what I wanted to do in this short video was to look at some points which I raised with somebody when looking at their homepage. Things for them to consider with developing it. Now I've been putting off this video because it's so hot. Sitting in front of a camera is not really ideal at the moment. Whew, it's hot. And also I think I've got the camera settings wrong, but I'm just going to plow on anyway just to get on with it. So the person we're looking at is Helen Reynolds, and she runs a company called Comms Creatives. Now Helen was kind enough to, Helen was a guest on the WordPress show a few weeks back, giving her expertise about social media, etc. And I've known Helen for years, and we got into a side conversation about the fact that I'm running the Facebook group, because Helen runs a very successful Facebook group. So Helen was kind enough to give me some hints and tips and some ideas about running a group and the communications and how that can work well within the group, because of course comms is very much what Helen does. And so to help return the favor, I said, look, I'll have a look around your homepage and your website and see if I can come up with some ideas for you to work on. Helen's not looking to redesign the website. This is merely about giving some ideas, etc. And certainly for my kind of clients, this is very much the advice people need, because WordPress, it offers you a lot out of the box, and it seamlessly drifts into areas where you may or may not be qualified to do things with. Like, I mean, it's all well and good having a very visual building system for your website, but if that means we're randomly dropping bits of content on there, that's not necessarily a good thing. And that's not what Helen's done here, but I'm just giving an example that I suppose, as the saying goes, with great power comes great responsibility. So let's flick over to Helen's site a minute. The website's been up for a couple of years, and what tends to happen, and I mentioned this in a blog post only the other day, the purpose of the website, whilst it was very, very strongly aligned with your business and your vision and your products and services and all of your tone of voice and everything else when it was first created, with all the best will in the world, over time it drifts more and more away from that actual starting point. And over time, I'm sure we can add content to the site, we can think of this and think of that, but at some point we come to realize that it's so far off the norm and the direction of where we need it to be that serious action needs to be taken. And that's not necessarily a redesign, but I think it does also come down to a willingness to accept it's time to change the website. Because I mean, that might sound a weird thing to say, the willingness to accept, but the reality is, of course, is for most of us, we build the website, we're relieved it's done, and we can get on with our business. But no, it's integral to it. So a lot of it is coming to that realization and accepting that something's got to be done about it. And sometimes that's elements of work which you can do yourselves, and sometimes that's bringing in third parties, and sometimes that is completely redoing the website, because when you work with a decent web design company like ourselves, the design of the website comes about from a solid process of looking at things like target audience and brands and products and services, and understanding what messaging needs to be brought together so that we don't waste that opportunity when people land on the homepage. Now, web design projects are only one of the things we do. We do website reviews, where we're just brought in just to look at a website and come up with a list of points which the client can either look at themselves, or they can employ us to do, or sometimes they've already got a chosen supplier. We're just being brought in just to add that outside perspective, which can be really, really good. And so when we do these kind of website reviews, I haven't got the spreadsheet in front of me, but we try to rank our suggestions by different criteria in terms of how easy is this to do yourselves, on the basis that you might not be a designer or a developer. How much impact would it have? Impact in terms of the goals which the client has set, how much resource it would take, or whether you need a third party to help. And then that gives you a way of ranking all of these different suggestions so that you can chip away, do the bits which you can yourselves, and maybe then hive out the bigger, more complex ones as and when makes sense in terms of your roadmap. Right, so we've waffled on for a little bit there. Going back to Helen's website, yeah, she's got a lovely brand, there's lovely colours. I mean, immediately this to me says that, okay, like it's polished. And that's reassuring. The reason I am then is that I think, you know, if I'm visiting the website of a plumber or a heating specialist, it's not the end of the world if the website looks dreadful or they don't have a brand, because for whatever reason, I don't expect that to be good. Whereas if you're in Helen's sector, which is much more about housing associations and big government places who are going to need the reassurance that when they land on the website, everything looks right, the brand looks right, it doesn't feel like a thrown together operation. Now, going back to that plumber or heating specialist example I just mentioned, a great brand and a great website will certainly help in those situations, but it's not necessarily as damaging with a more of a B2B company like Helen. So yes, the brand looks fine. We got a logo in there. I think Helen said she's had enough of the yellow, and yeah, your personal preference of colours, that certainly comes into it. Bear in mind though that we look at our own websites probably a lot more than our customers or other people. I mean, depending on the purpose of your website and how people interact. Obviously, if there's a logged in area where people are flooding back to all the time, it's slightly different. But for many people, where the website is that informational touch point, they arrive at it at a certain point in the journey where they're finding out about you or they're ready to make the next move, and then they get in touch with you, and then you can complete the sale. So the website is filling in and it's helping out with certain angles of that sales cycle. So in which case clients aren't seeing it all the time. And I raise this sometimes because the client says, oh God, we've had that image on our homepage for ages. Well, okay, you see it a lot more than everybody else. So don't feel the need, you need to just change the homepage for your own reasons. Right, so let's have a little look at the homepage. Okay, there was a slight jolt in the video then, because I suddenly realised when looking at Helen's site that, bless her, she'd actually taken on some of my advice and she'd made some changes. But I want to give you an opportunity to look at what it was like before so you can understand the points I was making, and then perhaps we can flick back and look at Helen's site. So I've used the Wayback Machine, which shows an archive of how websites have changed over time. It's working fine. Sometimes it does get a bit broken, but the point I wanted to make to you is that, so we've got this rotating image element right in the hero area, which is fine, but you know it's probably been there for a while, and maybe it was of the moment when it first came out. I'm certainly mindful of when that strong imagery or anything we've got into that hero area has got to really help explain what the website is about and help position the offering and make people feel welcome. Is it helping explain who Comms Creative are? And I'm not sure it is really. And also this learning that gives you the aha moments. I think it's very important to very clearly and quickly get to that point of what we're trying to do online, so that people understand what our products and services are quickly. People are impatient online, they're getting more impatient, so we have to be mindful of that and really get the message across quickly. Another thing I picked up on in the hero area was that there's no links in that introductory text, and I always find that problematic and a bit of a missed opportunity really, because when we introduce who our company is, we could easily say things like, we've been running since blah, blah, blah. In our case, 2001. Well, those are kind of links which could easily go off to the About Us page. We work with clients all over the UK and the US. Well, that could go off to your clients page. We offer WordPress web design or pay-as-you-go or website review services again. So you're describing what you offer, but you're then linking to them and making it easier for people visiting the website to get to the page which they need. But of course, Google spot those links as well. We don't do things just for Google. but we may as well do things which are good for our audience, and they make lives easier for Google as well. One thing I picked up on as well was that on this older site, just before Helen tweaked it, let's have a little look. Yeah, okay, there's Helen and her sister Leslie. They're the heart and soul of the company, and certainly you know the heart and soul of the company when you look at their social media output. But it takes us so long for us to bring out that human element within the design. So I can see, flicking back to the new website, right, Helen, Leslie, immediately there. We're seeing smiley human faces. It helps position. I mean, when you go to a website, the human face is attracted to the human face, and whatever chemistry happens in the brain with it, it does help make you feel more aligned to that brand or not. Yeah, so if we flick back to the amended website, they've obviously amended this area now, so we've got Helen and Leslie in that hero area. So I think that hero area is working harder now. It's not just showing a random image which has got no real purpose. It wasn't an image, if you remember. It was like a drawing. It's now showing photos of Helen and Leslie, which sets the tone. It humanizes the brand, and this is who you're dealing with. Okay. Also, social media courses for creatives, comms, and comms pros. I think the nature of this theme is that we haven't got quite enough room for this longer title, but the reality is that at least we're setting out our stall a bit more clearly in terms of what is on offer here. And also, we've got links in that text. Great. Social media courses, a very clear call to action. The previous one was Discover Comms Creative Courses, a bit more of a mouthful, isn't it? So by being a bit more straightforward with our call to actions, it just makes life easier for people. Let's go back to how it was before. So I don't know what else has changed. So now we've got some more introductory text on the home page. We've got a long list of testimonials. Now we're into what a section I would normally call your services overview. It could be products overview, kind of depends on your company. This is where we're setting out the stall for, this is what you can engage with us. This is how you can buy from us. I say buy, some of them might be free, but obviously everything's not free because this is a business at the end of the day. So we've got some testimonials here, we've got some services, Comms Creative Masterclasses, speaking with Helen, some more testimonials, then get the newsletter, join the Comms Creative Club, and then we've got the old bit where Helen and then now we've got some more services. Social Media Expert course and the 31 Days of Creativity Challenge, which is an event which Helen runs. I think is it running now actually. So one of my points there is that the service offering is kind of all over the shop really. And if we compare that to something I'm working on for Glass Mountains, so this is a static mock-up while we're thinking about what we're doing. It's got a lot of placeholder content in here, whilst we just understand what messaging do we want to bring through to the homepage, how do we want to position our products, what's important, what's more important than other things. So here we're clearly saying web design, WordPress design and support. We do WordPress web design projects, we do ongoing WordPress support, and hire for smaller changes. Now, the actual text we're using there, the actual language is subject to change, but those are the three main services on offer. That may well change. It may be that I bring the website review service more to the forefront. Haven't quite decided yet, but that is how we're laying that out. The other aspect of the business is the knowledge base and the webinars. So we run the online events, which is like the WordPress show, which Helen starred on. We ran a premium webinar. Was that back in July? No, it was earlier than that. A premium webinar for getting people back up to speed with WordPress. We'll have some more premium webinars coming in later in the year. Two other aspects of the business. We've got the Facebook group. That's where we stream the live events for the WordPress show. These icons and these names are going to change because they've got slightly different names now. But that's, irrespective of what I've got there, hopefully you can see we're trying to clearly lay out what is on offer and how people can engage with it. And that is a little bit fragmented, I think, where we are on Helen's site. So I talked through some of those elements. So we're going to go back now. We're going to see what Helen's done. Right, okay. So this is good. The chat I had with Helen was very much about, what is most important to you when we're laying out that stall on the homepage. What do we want people to see? Because going back to that classic Harvard business study about the two stalls at the fair offering jam, and the one with 20 odd jams, the one stall with 20 odd jams, and the other one with 3. And of course the 3 on offer there were also on offer on the other stand. Well, the stand only offering 3 jams sold more, because sometimes too much choice is just overwhelming. It's not that it creates doubt, but there is a certain, the cognitive load we're putting on people when we're asking them to look at all of this stuff that's on offer and make a choice is hard work. Whereas if we can filter it down, it just makes life easier and gets people into that buying process quicker. And the quicker we're speaking to people, the quicker we can work out, well, are we a good fit for each other and what can we do? So Helen's changed this around. So we've got the social media expert course, which is Helen's flagship thing at the moment. I think what Helen promotes changes over time depending on the season or whatever she's interested in. So flexibility in the design is important. And like the 31 Days of Creativity Challenge, yes, it's on now. And when it's not on, then that's something which we would replace that with a different kind of strong call to action. One point I'd make as well, I would read up on the 31 Days of Creativity. It is obviously based on the name. It is about encouraging people's creativity and getting them to engage in this process. Now, if we go back to Helen's original website, this kind of swirling turdy thing there, that kind of encapsulates some of that creativity magic. So that's where you would use that kind of device to work with this offering here, because it looks more bland than it probably needs to be there. So in a full-scale redesign, you would probably do something where we have the 31 Days of Creativity. There's got a little bit more pizzazz in it. It's got maybe we do a bit of coding to create some sort of animation there, or do something to help that stand out and pop from a bit, because doing so is related to that particular service. You don't do it just for the sake of, well, something can rotate on a web page, so let's make it rotate. No, we do it because it makes sense for that purpose. So within her world, Helen is fairly famous for a lot of the drawings and the doodles and the cartoons that she does, which help communicate the world and the pain of the comms professionals. I've got an example of it somewhere. Yeah, here we go. Helen would like this one because it's got a big old piece of crap on the, which probably shows parts of Helen's humour as well. So I think, the point I'd make there, let me just switch back here a sec. Oh, I've got to turn it off there now. The point I'd make there would be an angle to bring some of that out onto Helen's website. It might be that Helen designed some of these icons, for instance. You can imagine how that then ties the website in a more congruous manner back to some of the social media output. And I think there's also another angle here. I mentioned that some of comms creative clients are like housing associations, big organizations, and their competitors there are also big companies with big buildings and lots of people, where of course Helen comes in. Helen is herself and her sister, and they've got a lot of character and they've got a lot of personality, and they've got a lot of pedigree for doing it. So that's part of their unique selling point, and that's part of what they're bringing to the process. So the more that we can play to the strengths of that, then the better. Because if people are going to be put off by Helen's Helen's humour or how Helen presents herself and blah, blah, blah. Well, that's fine because everyone buys from different people. Saying that, the website may as well filter from day one, because if somebody's not going to like you when they speak to you face to face, well, we may as well get the website to filter those out so nobody's time is wasted. Whereas, Helen runs a successful business. She's highly regarded. So the more in tune we can get the website with those kind of values, the more effective it's going to be when people land on it who are her target audience. So I certainly think there's scope to bring some of that through there. Oh yeah, so Helen's also a massive fan of hummus. And I bought her that hummus appreciation mug as a thank you for coming on the WordPress show not so long ago. But I think all her audience are commerce creatives. They're well aware of the hummus thing. Now, I'm not saying on the new design hummus is everywhere, but there must be an angle, and this is where clever design comes out. It's about how do we get across that in a subtle way, which is not overpowering, but brings together that shaped messaging in a methodical manner and in a manner which makes sense. So off the top of my head, I don't know how we would bring that out. It could be simply we've got the picture of Helen holding the hummus, or maybe the hummus pot is the contact page. I don't know, but there's something there. There's something to work with there. Let's have a little look else what we got here. I think again, yeah. So we've looked at these big services offerings. I like to have a find out more, so that when we go from, this is what I would call a service summary here, yeah? And it is providing a summary. We need to click more to go to the individual page, which is all the blurb about that particular offering. And we've kind of got that at the bottom, but really a nice button to help would be a bit more obvious. And also, I think if you've got quite a few services, I think the way that we position it here is that we put your frontline obvious services on the home page. That could be 3, that could be 5. 5 seems a bit much, but you get the idea. But you can always have like a small text link which says something like view all our services, or whatever text, whatever messaging you want to use. But that simple link then can go to an overview page which discusses all the different services. However, on the home page we can just showcase what you want. Right, looking at so we've got some lovely testimonials here. I just think we need some extra design work going on here. This font looks a bit small, that looks a bit big. And this is where you get stuck as somebody who's in the driving seat of a WordPress site in terms of the theme, where you're not a designer or developer, because you're kind of stuck with how that theme operates. So this is where you either get a designer in to create a child theme so they can override some of the elements in here, but it's not trivial. And without budget and without time, you haven't got those options. So this goes back to that spreadsheet I was talking about earlier. You just pick your battles. You change what you can change. Now, if we can't make that bigger or change that font, then so be it. Put that on the list so that if you do invest in a bit of time to do some proper development on this theme to get some changes done, then we do it then. Right, so we've got get the newsletter. I wonder if that's changed at all. Yeah, I think we've got a bit more text in there. So just be mindful. I see this on quite a few websites, and I saw a really good, / bad example of this on another site the other day, where it's sort of, it's just got like a text field and sign up for our newsletter. Well, where is the offer there? Where is the sizzle to that? That's nothing. And you've got to give somebody a reason to act on those things. So there's an angle there. And I think you can see again, there's an angle for Helen to maybe do the iconography there, which helps to tie it together. The Comms Creative Club, that's what I was speaking about earlier. That's the Facebook group where Helen's got a lot of expertise. I would potentially be thinking about you know, bringing a bit of Facebook in there. I mean, how have I done that over on our visual one? Yeah, so this is the Facebook group access. We've actually got our own logo for it now, but yeah, brilliant. Okay, so Helen's got a video on here now, which is fantastic. Got all the logos and things, and we've got a funny search box which doesn't quite look right. That footer doesn't quite look right to me. I wonder if it's just failed to load. No, I think something's gone a little bit awry towards the bottom. So I hope that gives you some ideas, because I have to say, and I've certainly found this with our own Glass Mountains website, you do go through a period of denial where you haven't got the stomach to look at it, because the funny thing about my business, it is like cobbler's kids. It's so hard to look at your own website, whereas I have no trouble looking at any of the others, and obviously getting my team to help with it. But focusing on your own, it's harder. It's harder, obviously, because it's so personal. And also really because when you're answering questions about the website, it isn't just the website. You've got to ask deep questions about the purpose of your business and about what the actual offering is and the target audience is. So that's when it gets complex. So I think we can agree, though, that Helen has taken on board some of that advice, and that's about it, really. If you'd like me to look at your website, I can certainly do that. And if you want to have a full brand spanking redesign, we can certainly help with that as well. And there we go. So thanks for watching, guys. If you've got any comments or questions, keep going over to the Facebook group, which I'll put the link somewhere. That's a good place to ask. And now, I could do with a beer. I can't yet, though. It's only 4 o'clock. It's not loud, is it? Right. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye now.